Hello, and welcome to another ohmTown Daily News Show. Tonight's episode is Season 2, Episode 85. A whole Twitter is now half off. We've already selected all of our articles for tonight, and we've selected 12 of them. We're going to start out with Elon Musk reporting that Twitter is now worth $20 million when it was or $20 billion when it was originally purchased for $44 billion. Tractor makers are scrambling to get their gear into Farming Simulator. Gen Z is smoking and drinking less, and that's costing the UK government $17 billion. The FBI seized $40,000 from a couple, and they haven't explained it. I remember this from 2 years ago. Some Apple employees are skeptical of the AR or VR headset that's about to launch, if it launches. Scientists offer a non-alien explanation for an interstellar visitor. It's aliens. Tigers escape from a tornado, they escape from an animal sanctuary because of a tornado. Planets on parade, as 5 will line up in the night sky this week. Philadelphia recommends bottled water after a chemical spill in Delaware. New York City appears poised to pass a bill banning size discrimination. Florida school has what do you want to call it? Has gone, to Italy over a statue of David being shown in class. And another train company decides that they're going to drop the push for a one-person crew. I wonder where Elon is in this. Let's get into tonight's articles. Hello, I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com. And up there is the visualizer for the AI. You want to say hi?
Good evening, ohmTown citizens.
Yay, and you're orange. So that actually is the ohmTown primary color. It's orange and white. Orange and white. See the perimeter there? That's orange and that's white. And it kind of slowly rotates. It's just a little bit. Anyway, so we are color matched. I try to color match the visualizer for the day's show. I might be changing that, by the way. Every show, every day, it's a new color for that particular show, and we're going to slowly migrate over to a more topic-focused per-day show. But we are still assessing, and by we, I mean me, because the AI just pretty much goes along with whatever is being presented and then keeps me on track with proper information. But yeah, we're going to try and focus the shows. So one show is going to be, essentially, it's going to be a creative and maker show, a news and business show, a science and education show, a food, drink, and entertainment show, society, business, and law show, and gadgets and technology show. And now somebody might say, that's only 6 shows. And that's because on Sunday, there will be a composite show that highlights all of the other articles and adds a few that actually basically the best of the best from the previous week and a couple of others just to augment something that might have happened in that previous 24 hours. Because honestly, from Saturday to Sunday and Sunday to Monday, that roughly 48-hour time period is slow. So we'll make up for it by being overwhelmingly entertaining. This episode, by the way, may not be the best one for me to ramble like this for the first 5 minutes of the show because we've got 12 articles to get through. So let's get on to it. You sound like fun?
Sounds great.
Sounds great. Awesome. Okay, let's go. So the very first article is the one that gave us the episode title. Elon Musk reportedly halves Twitter's valuation in an internal memo. Somehow I feel like this is a test. Because depending on what number is being expressed to the public, they know who it was that leaked this number out. Maybe not.
I thought it was more along the lines of trying to set the company or the individual up for favorable tax conditions.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Elon Musk has put a $20 billion value on Twitter, making it less than half of the $44 billion that Musk paid to acquire the site, according to reports from Platformer and The Information, two news sources that provided it to The Verge, apparently. In a memo sent to staff viewed by Platformer's Zoe Schiffer, Musk reportedly says that employees will receive stock grants based on Twitter's $20 billion valuation, which is quite interesting because when it's convenient that it's a $44 billion company, it gets the higher valuation. And when it comes to pumping out stock grants, it's now a $20 billion company. So isn't this the same thing that a former, and I use this as liberally as humanly possible, leader did with their real estate? Huh. If I did that, I would be behind bars. I would seriously be in such deep kimchi that, and I don't know why I turned that phrase, because I love kimchi. I love it. I love it. Anyway, man, I used to eat that stuff like all the time when I was younger. Now I can't. I want to, but I can't. That has nothing to do with the show. Anyway, yeah, Musk stated last year that he's obviously overpaying for Twitter at $54.20 per share. So now it's only worth $20 billion. So if anybody wants to buy it from Elon Musk and friends, then apparently just show it with $22 billion and you'll get it. Supposedly, Twitter was breaking even at least, while still making people millionaires or billionaires in this case. It was supposedly breaking even. So let's go look over at the source of this, and that's over at The Verge. And Emma Roth is the author that put this together. Can't really get much deeper into this because it's really just a letter that went out to employees and reported on by various people. And it's kind of, the article just kind of goes into who Musk is because, you need to know who that is.
And it'd be hard not to know who it is since he's always in the news.
Yeah, not necessarily for the greatest things either. Still trying to figure out anything else that he's done on his own, but whatever. I think that Glass Onion and the 12 o'clock dong is pretty much a documentary. So Twitter has lost some of its biggest advertisers as a result of the shenanigans of whatever is going on over at Twitter, with a recent report from Vox indicating that over half of the top 1,000 advertisers on Twitter prior to Musk's acquisition no longer show ads on the platform. People all up and down Twitter are complaining about the quality of the ads and the crap that they're seeing in their feeds and all kinds of stuff that they just despise. Yet people still utilize it. So for me, I think the biggest reason why people were willing to take a hit on this, and those particular people took a hit on it, is because they wanted to control the messaging and the exchange of information from those who were anonymous previously, because there was a lot of information that was shared across Twitter in complete anonymity. And now, because what amounts to, I think, a hostile insider exists in control of Twitter, guess what? They now have all of that information. The accounts, the IPs, the geolocation, when it was used, where it was used, how it was used, everything. And all it takes is de-anonymizing whatever information might lead to personally identifiable information. And you've got dissidents, you've got complainers, you've got people that might expose abuse. and it allows the amplification of hate messages, hate speech, and that is readily apparent. So,
Well, and even just journalists, and there's so many groups that could be adversely impacted if that occurs.
yep. So it says this obviously hasn't helped the company sort out some of the financial issues, including its mountain of debt and several unpaid bills that are allegedly owed to landlords, an advisory firm, a private jet company, and many others. Man, this sounds exactly like somebody else. Well,
I can't quite figure it out.
I don't know. Starts with a, no, it slips off my tongue. Okay. Got to move on, but before I do, I always forget to do this. I'm going to throw this article into the show notes. So now it's in the VOD. It'll be there for 60 days. And if you don't watch it over here on Twitch, which is at twitch.tv/ohmTown, then you can catch it over on YouTube, youtube.com/ohmTown. Or you can catch the pod wherever the pods are caught with a pod catcher. Yeah. Okay, well, let's move on to the next article. And that one is all about tractors. I like tractors. Tractor makers are scrambling to get their gear into Farming Simulator, where it once had to ask politely to put high-profile farming machine brands in Farming Simulator. Giant Software now has too many requests to be in the wildly popular simulator series. A new profile of the game in The Guardian says, I kind of dig this idea, and now it makes me want to go get Farming Simulator. This is over at PC Gamer, put together by Jonathan Bolding. And again, the title is Tractor Makers Are Scrambling to Get Their Gear into Farming Simulator. I don't know. I'm going to have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. It says we're talking.
How realistic does it need to be?
Yeah. I'm going to have to put my
smells from the farm too.
My coveralls on.
The muck.
Oh man. Yeah, and having to
drive cool tractors around. That sounds fun.
That's the win. That's what I'm into. I'll do that. I've always wanted to do that, by the way. I mean, driving like a big, massive vehicles around like that. I mean, it seems like it would be fun. But like we were talking about how people that deal with hundreds of dollars, things that tens of thousands of dollars is amazing. And people that deal with billions of dollars don't really care about ones and twos. Maybe this goes the same way, right? Like when you drive a regular old car, it becomes humdrum. When you go into a tractor, you think that it's amazing. But then there's a fighter jet pilot that sits there and goes, hee hee, I think your tractor's sexy. But then you take that person from a tractor and put them in a jet and they're like, woohoo. But the fighter pilot is going, it's Tuesday. So
yeah, I suspect it's all relative.
Yeah. And so this software gives you at least some idea of what driving a tractor, well, I guess running a farm is kind of like. I don't know if this is in VR. I know that I've got a simulator for, I think it's just a digger, a backhoe or something like that in VR. I think that one's pretty fun, but I hardly ever play it. I want to go to Oak Island and start digging up a virtual money pit. And if you all don't know what I'm talking about, just look up The Curse of Oak Island. It's something like 11 years now going, and they haven't found anything. But the rumor is that somebody has to die before they find it. So that's really sad. So hopefully they never find it. No, see, I want somebody to find it. I just don't want anybody to die. What does this have to do with the tractor farming simulator? It's because
tractor type equipment on Curse of Oak Island, so there is a connection. Maybe not a strong one.
There should be an Oak Island simulator. So this is pretty neat. Go over all of this is on Steam, and you can find out more about what's going on with these tractors. I think it's kind of cool that tractors want to be part of it, but it's part of the marketing kind of thing. If you're ever present, then that's what you go to. You
I
never
think
have.
it's great. Like, I can't think of another situation like this where you hear about manufacturers really trying to get into the game. I mean, it just sounds like it must be fun and they must like it. I mean, I guess it's all marketing, right? Like, if you can get your John Deere or whatever, I don't know a lot of tractor brands,
Yeah.
in there, then maybe that's really just good for business. But
Yeah, they're even saying right here at the very beginning of the article, we're talking simultaneous real world and farming simulator hay baler launch dates. Woohoo! That's amazing. Want to go on to the next article?
sure.
Sure. Okay, so this next article is Gen Z is smoking and drinking less, and that costs the UK government $17 billion, says Bloomberg. So this is an article that's over in the Daily News Show, which is this show. But it's also a channel over on ohmTown.com, as well as the main channel here on Twitch. And there you can talk about stuff and leave your little comments, and you can actually leave Giphies, but you have to become a citizen first. So sign up, log in to reply, and off you go. Well, anyway, lower levels of smoking and drinking by Gen Z has affected the UK public finances, according to an analysis. Bloomberg estimates the UK missed out $11.4 billion in tobacco tax and $5.7 billion in alcohol tax since 2002. Sin taxes, as it's called, bring in revenue for governments, but alcohol and tobacco also cause health problems. Gen Z is increasingly shunning alcohol and tobacco, and that's put a $17 billion hole in Britain's public finances over the past 2 decades. So this is over at Business Insider. It's where we got it from, but Ryan Hogg is the author.
A lot of drinks and cigarettes, it sounds like.
Yeah, but you're going to have a healthier population.
I mean, it's good. I'm just amazed that it's that much money, but that is a long period of time too.
They've got limits on sugary foods and soft drinks now too. I'm pretty sure that might cause civil war here in the States. Oh, I've said things too loud. The quiet part out loud. But tobacco and alcohol lead to health problems, so it's really about the public saying we're not interested anymore. But they say, I mean, it ebbs and flows, but I think education has led to tobacco in particular basically getting nixed more and more. Let's see here. Calculations by Bloomberg indicate that the UK has missed out on $11.4 billion from tobacco taxes alone. And that's because along with the tobacco price going up, the tax goes up, and now the population is weaning itself from tobacco when it's at an all-time high.
Right. Yeah, I guess it's like a double whammy from the tax revenue standpoint.
Yeah, it's just been going down as the price for it goes up. At some point, it'll all just fade away. So let's see if there's any other information on here. Let's see. This year, the Office for Budget Responsibility, or OBR, expects the UK government to take in $15.4 billion US dollars, or 12.6 billion pounds, in alcohol duties, and $10.7 billion, or 13.1 billion US dollars, in tobacco taxes. That just seems like a ton. I mean, it's...
How is that possible? In one country in 1 year?
Yeah. And that's falling. Falling revenue from alcohol and tobacco could pose a headache for the Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, who's trying to address a $27.6 billion deficit, or 33.7 billion US dollar deficit, in Britain's public finances, and the equivalent of the Treasury Secretary who's facing falling tax income from gasoline and diesel taxes as ever more EVs are sold. Hey, just go the Wyoming way.
That's right. I mean, you have plenty of income from gasoline and diesel.
Just make everybody have to have a coal-powered car. Come on. Steam engines. Return to steam engines. Steam engines, steam engines. You could do it with nuclear power. It's a steam engine. Anyway. It says but at the end of this. But in a 2015 study by the Institute of Economic Affairs suggested the government was still coming off better from the current setup, with drinkers subsidizing non-drinkers to the tune of 2.6 billion pounds or $7.9 billion. And that's because of the health related matters. So I'm not going to thank any smoker. Drinking, I don't know. Drinking to excess is a problem. Drinking, moderately, I think is fine. Smoking is a nasty habit because you're not just impacting yourself. You're impacting the world around you, throwing your cigarette butts and whatever else. Obviously, abusive smoking or abusive drinking causes problems too, but smoking is just a nasty habit everybody should break.
Like, smoking to me is guaranteed to negatively impact other people.
Yep.
So it's like, it's never like if somebody walks around, at minimum, they're going to get cigarette smell, fumes, whatever, around other people. And worse if they live with or work with other people, etc. Drinking to me possibly is going to impact other people. It depends on, right, if somebody's drinking to excess or driving or doing anything dangerous.
Yep. Humans get stupid sometimes. But cigarettes, it just lingers. There is a place that's outside of ohmTown. We don't have smoking in ohmTown. But outside of ohmTown, a place where Mayor Watt sometimes goes for breakfast, and the entry to that place is always just packed with what do you want to, how, like, hanging smoke, or the people have been long gone. They've left, but cigarette smoke is in the foyer,
in the vestibule,
the vestibule, however many other big words we want to come up with, the entrance, the airlock, and it locks in that cigarette smoke and lingers. So I don't know, find a different hobby, folks. Take up something other than cigarette smoke. Okay, so let's move on to the next article. This one is, and seriously, we have 12 articles. We're going to have to hustle. Some Apple employees are skeptical of the AR/VR headset launch, a solution in search of a problem. I kind of agree about this. I don't think that the market is big enough unless it is absolutely self-contained and multi-platform capable, which I doubt it is. And by that, I mean I should be able to use the VR headset on PC hardware so that it can have maximum reach and functionality. But if I have to have it with an iPhone or iPad or some M.2 processor, then we're in trouble. Oh, 1 second. I have a sneeze coming, but I'm trying to work past it. I am not a professional. Anyway, in a report today from New York Times, anonymous employees at Apple expressed their skepticism about the upcoming AR/VR headset. If you're not familiar with the term AR/VR, it's augmented reality / virtual reality. There is also an XR, which is kind of a Microsoft directed term, really. That's both.
Is the XR already released or it's in development?
It's neither. XR is the either A or V, so it's mixed reality. And it's expected to be not XR, but AR/VR from Apple is supposed to be announced sometime in June. The New York Times says that unlike some other recent product launches, Apple has failed to rally all of its employees behind the project. Some employees have left the teams because they are not convinced the product will appeal to customers. Well, AR and VR are nascent sectors. It's not, to say that it's growing is probably a stretch. It is growing, but it's such a small number of people that it's pretty difficult to do this level of research and development. But I don't think that there is a big enough market for Apple to lean into it that deep. Apple really isn't the first mover in something like this, I don't think. But if they do, and they do it right, they're going to knock it out of the park. So the only problem here is the price. Some are saying that it's $3,000. So let's hope that
people that will buy it. I mean, a lot of people, of course, can't afford it, but
yeah, I don't know. I mean, there might be a couple of mayors out there that are going to buy it. So the article's over at 9to5mac.com. Benjamin Mayo is the author of this. And I really, really don't ever like seeing this scuba goggle image of what Apple AR, VR headsets are going to look like. It seems like I should be going for a sightseeing tour of some coral, for crying out loud, and I need to grab my snorkel. I mean, it's just this rubberized glass gasket looking thing that looks like it's supposed to keep all of the elements out, which this just wouldn't work. You need airflow so that you don't fog up the lenses.
Well, also so you can breathe if your nose is supposed to be in that part.
It doesn't even have a nose cutout. I mean, I know that this is a render, but still, come on, folks. If you're gonna lean into an image, at least lean into it so it doesn't look like it's supposed to be a waterboarding device, for crying out loud. Anyway, now we've lost them as a sponsor. Anyway, the headset is seen as the first step in a long journey of augmented and virtual reality experience products. The ideal product of lightweight wearable AR glasses are not possible to create with current state of technology. I don't think that's true. But Apple leadership have decided it's better to enter the fray now than to wait years for the perfect design or product design to be achievable. I don't see why they would rush to market this. This is what I don't understand. Why would they rush to market? They've never rushed to market anything.
And don't they lose out? For instance, if they release something and consumers go, oh, this is awful.
Correct.
Are they going to give a chance to the second generation one? Like, I think that's different on things like the iPhone. People loved it when it was first released.
Yep. Some people poo-pooed it, but the market absolutely loved it. And the same thing happened with their music players. Same thing happened with the iPad. Same thing happened with the phone. Same thing happened with their wireless earphones, and even their Apple Pro headphones. I mean, everybody loves their products. But this, it seems like the market isn't there for it. Whereas all the others, the market was there. Time and time again, the market was there. It just wasn't delivered properly by others at a level that got people talking about it. But as soon as Apple entered it, it blew up.
Now, I also think when things like the iPhone came out and other products, like I think that changed buying behavior because people who didn't have something like that before, of course, suddenly were consumers of it. But I don't know. I mean, I think the percentage of people that has something like a smartphone, for example, is probably significantly higher than somebody who would use VR, for instance.
Correct. I mean, augmented reality, I think, could work. That might be the interstitial step. You know, it might be, okay, well, I have my phone, I have my watch, I have my iPad, I have my MacBook Pro at home, I have my Mac Mini at home, something like that. And then you get augmented reality glasses, which superimpose telemetry data, something that's actionable on the lens, so that you can walk around and it gives you directions. And when a phone call comes in, it pops up on your augmented reality glasses this is who it is, etc. But VR is pushing it way too far, way too fast, I think, for Apple. But let's see. Let's see if $3,000 is a price point that people are willing to buy into for nothing more than AR VR glasses. We're not even talking about maybe the PC that drives it, the computer that drives it, just the VR glasses. They could be like the Pico, where it's entirely self-contained. That's what I use now. But if it isn't lighter than, entirely better than, has superior audio, has superior resolution, faster response rate, and more software, which if it can tie into the Apple App Store, that's where the augmented reality side of things, or VR side of things, could dominate. Because there's thousands upon thousands of apps that can instantly be updated to support VR. But what are the controllers? There's never been a mention of the controllers.
That's a good point. It's certainly not included in this picture.
It's never included in the picture. Nobody ever talks about the controllers. They talk about the AR VR headset, but what about the controllers?
Well, that's weird. I assume the headset is the thing that would make or break whether somebody would use it. But to me, if the controllers are hard to use or clunky or whatever, that would be just as disastrous.
Yep. So you're going to have two iPhones so that you can hold them in each hand and move them around because the gyroscope works with the...
Well, that's going to be another expense.
So be prepared to shell out about $5,000 for... Okay, let's hustle. Let's move on to the next article. Scientists offer a non-alien explanation for interstellar visitor. This thing is a big old chunky asteroid. This is an artist's impression of Oumuamua. Or I think that's how it's pronounced. I think like Oumuamua, like that. I've heard it before, but it's been like a decade since I heard this name, for crying out loud. So researchers said Wednesday that they had come up with a simple and compelling non-alien explanation for the interstellar interloper's bizarre behavior, though not everyone was convinced. The object, christened OhmTown, or Scout in Hawaiian, baffled scientists as soon as it was spotted by an observatory in Hawaii 6 years ago. So this is when they first discovered it, and that's why I remember it from so long ago. Astronomers had been searching for comet-like objects entering the solar system from the vastness of interstellar space, but had never observed one. Well, they found it. So let's see. The strangest part was that once I'm just going to say the asteroid slingshotted around the sun, it sped up and deviated from its expected trajectory, propelled by a mysterious force on its way out of the solar system. Scientists were left with 4 months worth of seemingly contradictory data to try to make sense of, and leading to a range of theories. Apparently a thruster boost of some kind, inner proposal, wherever Oumuamua may have come from. It started out as a water-rich comet-like object, and during its interstellar travels, it was blasted by penetrating cosmic rays that converted some of its water into hydrogen gas that became trapped within the object's body. This is the more plausible thing than other things. How about we just don't know, and we're continuing to research it?
Well, and I mean, isn't there something in that it looks unlike any other object we've identified? I mean, that doesn't mean that, okay, it's something odd or whatever, but maybe it's something that we don't know.
Yeah. So it says very suspicious. Not everyone's convinced. Loeb rejected the new theory, telling AFP that claims of a comet without a tail is like saying an elephant is a zebra without stripes. He pointed to the large cometary tail seen on 2I, I guess, Borisov, the second known visitor from outside the solar system, which was spotted in 2019. Roman Rafikov of Cambridge University in Britain said that he had previously demonstrated that if trapped gas were behind Oumuam's acceleration, it would have dramatically changed the rate at which it was spinning, which did not happen. So it not only did it accelerate, but it accelerated without tumbling. And from trapped gas, it had to have evenly distributed itself so that it could change its trajectory. And that the only time it's ever done this is when it was not being observed. All right.
You know, I mean, that's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts.
We'll never know for sure what Oumuamua was. We lost our chance, but for now, I think we have a compelling non-alien explanation. No, I'm not saying that it is aliens, but I'm not saying that something that defies, physics and is, I guess, like the fever dream of theoretical physicists, is the answer. I'm not really happy with the idea that somebody's just putting something for. This is how we end up with theories becoming de facto rules for how something is done until something better comes along, which tends to hobble interest in doing fundamental research into this. Others may find it as a challenge, but when a bunch of people will line up and go, hey, let's all agree that this is what's happening, then it's done,
Yeah.
We
and
need
I
more
don't think
infighting.
we really do have an explanation. I agree with you. It's not necessarily alien or whatever, but we don't really know.
Yeah, I hope that they end literally saying, but for now, I think that we have a compelling non-alien explanation.
Well, yeah, based on what? We are not really sure what happened, and it doesn't match anything we know. But besides that, we've totally figured it out.
Yeah, I don't want consensus that fast on something you don't know when the information that's available is coming from a blind spot in its observation. Oh well. Hey, so let's move on to the next article. So the next article is over here in the Daily News Show. Tigers escape after tornado rips through animal sanctuary in Georgia. It's been a strange week for weather phenomena, by the way. This week has been a turbulent weather week across the country as tornadoes ripped through Los Angeles and Mississippi and Georgia. There was another one.
That's a bit odd. I mean, Mississippi is certainly a high tornado area, but Los Angeles is not. And I don't think Georgia is necessarily on the normal path for tornadoes.
There was another weird one, too, but now I can't remember what it was. But anyway, I'll just go over to the source. This is over at Newsweek. They actually have a video of this from the greater Los Angeles area showing a tornado that was peeling roofs off of buildings. But this is, and this is why sometimes I kind of flinch. I kept Newsweek because it actually had a lot of information coming in. But man, every time I watch a video, it literally has little to nothing to do with the actual article. But maybe it's because it's playing in the background and it's rotated onto something else. But anyway, I love the reporter's name, by the way, Anna Commander. They're over at newsweek.com who put this article together. And according to local news station WSB-TV, the Troup County Sheriff's Office said that it received a report that a tiger was unaccounted for at the Pine Mountain Animal Safari Park shortly before 9 a.m. So it got an early start. Local reporter Cody Alcorn then reported hours later that, in fact, 2 tigers got loose, with the sheriff's office later confirming that the 2 felines were captured. So apparently they were caught. None of our animals, it says, and employees were hurt. I think maybe it should have been or employees were hurt. The park added in its post, writing several animal enclosures were breached and 2 tigers briefly escaped. Both have now been found, tranquilized, and safely returned to a secure enclosure. We appreciate your concern and support during this difficult time. And then they added, those who were attending to the tigers were also found, tranquilized, and returned to a secure enclosure. Oh, look, and it has really small print that says they will wake up with a hangover. Aw, those poor safari workers. Anyway, pictures of the Troup County, including the city of LaGrange, which is roughly 65 miles southwest of Atlanta, show the strength of the tornado as it downed power lines, fallen trees, widespread property damage, etc. There's a lot more over here at this article, and a pretty picture of a tiger. A Bengal tiger is seen in the Guadalajara Zoo. So they kept it current and localized to Georgia with their artwork or with their photography.
They couldn't get a picture of the Georgia tiger because it had escaped.
There you go. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to let that fly. So go over to Newsweek, follow the link. Let me make sure that it's there. Yes. Okay. So it's in the show notes. It's in the VOD, I should say, and the show notes will come later. The next article is over in the Daily News Show channel on ohmTown.com. The FBI. Anyway, FBI seized $40,000, a couple held in a deposit box 2 years ago, but won't say why and won't return their cash. I remember hearing this. And it says the FBI seized a couple savings as they held it in a deposit box. And this is a raid from March of 2021. Linda Martin said the agency has never explained why it's still holding $40,200. See, again, it gets more specific. At the very end, it's probably going to say $40,201.17. She and her husband have filed a suit in conjunction with, it says, the nonprofit Institute for Justice. If I remember, and I haven't seen the article yet, if I remember right, it's because the boxes were part of a sting to get to money laundering. Let's see if I can actually, like drug-related money laundering. Sam Tabaharidi is the author of this over at businessinsider.com. Let's see if I'm correct. Let's see. Agents raided the Beverly Hills. Yeah, it is that one. But it's something, they're saying it's for something else. But I think that it had to do with criminal activity, but not theirs. It's just that something at the bank had criminal activity and they were caught up in it. So let's see if this is what it says. Agents raided the Beverly Hills, California branch of U.S. private vaults and seized more than $86 million in cash, as well as jewelry and gold from 1,400 safe deposit boxes held by hundreds of people who were not suspected of any crimes, according to court documents previously seen by Insider. Yeah, I remember this. But they're not disclosing what it was, but all of the vaults were taken. I don't know how, what do you want to call it?
That's astounding because I don't know how they would have gotten a warrant for other people's boxes that were not alleged, conspirators.
Yeah, pretty wild, right? Somebody was very liberal with the warrant that allowed them to acquire the entirety of the safety deposit box. I mean, 1,400 safety deposit boxes. How in the hell could they possibly? That warrant must have read something like somewhere in this building is something that is.
Right. And even, I can't get over that hurdle, but okay, even if you get over that hurdle, how did they then seize contents from boxes that had nothing to do with the alleged criminal activity? I mean, it sounds like a search and seizure problem.
They were just supposed to identify owners.
Amendment.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It just seems like a constitutional violation. Illegal search and seizure.
It is. The Institute of Injustice, who is representing Martin in a class action lawsuit, said they were supposed to identify owners so that they could claim their property, but the FBI instead acted on its months-old plan to search and try to forfeit the contents of any box worth more than $5,000. How the hell? Months after the raid, the FBI sent forfeiture notices telling hundreds of box holders, including Martin, that the government wanted to take their property forever, even though they were not named in the indictment against the company. So I want to get to they have to talk about the actual indictment against the company. Because my understanding is that the company itself was named in some, wait. Yeah, money laundering. There it is. So U.S. private vault shut down following the Beverly Hills raid and pleaded guilty to conspiracy to launder drug money.
Okay, I think I'm seeing why it's as broad as it is, right? Because if the very company is doing something, I mean, for example, are they alleging that they're hiding things in individual account holders, boxes? I mean, I don't know. I'm just making something
Right.
up.
But you would think after 2 years, somebody would have been tasked with finding the rightful owners of the material. And then even if there is something saying, you would basically send them a legal notice saying you need to identify the amount of the property that's in this, or what the property is. What is your inventory of this? And if they can't, then there's going to be a longer due diligence phase for that particular person.
Right, exactly. But yeah, this doesn't make a lot of sense. But I also know we don't have a lot of information from this article. I mean, we don't have all the background.
But they certainly sound like they just activated the universal civil forfeiture rubber stamp and just chunk. We're taking everything. And I actually had a bank do that with, I can't remember what they call it, a stale account or something like that. I was notified of an account that I had in a bank in California a long time ago. And they basically said, due to inactivity, we're taking everything that's in the account. And here's the notice. It wasn't hey, you've got, 48 hours to notify us that you're coming to get it. It was, we're taking it. And you would have to activate a lawyer, basically. And at some point you go, oh, I totally forgot that even existed. And so I wasn't really put out. But I can imagine $40,000 worth of money sitting in in an account that is there and you didn't do anything wrong, and then somebody just comes along and takes it. It's beyond absurd. This would never happen to some people, right? Like, depending on who you are, depending on your political connections, there would be 1,399 vaults opened and one unlocked by you coming to get your key if you were or coming to get your stuff if you were politically connected. Hey, we're all equal. Some are more equal. All right, so let's move on to the next article. This next one is planets on parade. 5 will be lined up in the night sky this whole week. Depending on where you are, you'll be able to see it, I suppose. Maddie Burakoff over at phys.org put this article together. 5 planets, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Uranus, and Mars, not Uranus, will line up near the moon. Sorry. I just I started giggling. Anyway, the best day to catch the whole group is Tuesday. You'll want to look to the western horizon right after sunset, said NASA astronomer Bill Cook. The planets will stretch from the horizon line to around halfway up the night sky, but don't be late. Mercury and Jupiter will quickly dip below the horizon around half an hour after sunset. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, it says the 5-planet spread can be seen anywhere on Earth, as long as you have clear skies and a view of the west. How's that? I guess it rotates fast enough.
Any sense, but okay.
It rotates fast enough that they're going to hang there long enough for a nighttime rotation from sunset to sunrise. There's enough time frame there, I suppose so.
No, it's only for like a half-hour period, I thought. Didn't
But
it say it was going to be at sunset and then it was gone like half an hour later?
yeah, dip below the horizon around half an hour. I guess depending on where you are, it's always going to be dipping below the horizon. But no, it just says as long as you have a view to the west. I don't know. Maybe I don't understand astronomy, but I feel like this is going to really empower the flat earthers to go, how can we all see it?
Right. Well, and a lot
no.
of times you can't see everything from every location. So this kind of contradicts what we see on other astronomical phenomena.
I don't know. Okay, I'm going to have to move on. We already spent too much time on that one. Maybe you brighter folk out there in ohmTown can come and talk to me, and I'll input it into the AI so that they are privy as well. Anyway, the next article, and I think we are getting close to the end. No, we are not. Oh no, what happened here? Things got a little munched up. Yeah, I'll fix it. Anyway, Philadelphia recommends bottled water after chemical spill in Delaware River tributary. The spill is believed to have originated from a burst pipe at the Trinseo PLC plant in Bristol, Pennsylvania, which spilled some 8,100 gallons into Otter Creek. 8,000 gallons of chemicals used in latex finishing spilled into the tributary on Saturday night. Dun, dun, dun. So it's over at The Hill. Zach Budrick is the author of this. That's a hell of a caption for a picture.
You're right. It's a whole paragraph, at least based on the size of it.
I've been given, never mind. So in a statement Sunday, Mike Carroll, Deputy Managing Director for the Philadelphia Office of Transportation, Infrastructure, and Sustainability, said that no contaminants have been detected thus far. Yeah, I guess they don't go all the way to the bottom of the river to verify. However, he said the Baxter Drinking Water Treatment Plant, the largest such facility in the state, closed intakes around 5 a.m. on Sunday. So maybe they've caught it. And it's just flowing down the river and not getting into the drinking water.
Well, Carol said, it might be getting into the fish or the food supply or the soil.
Don't get nitpicky. I mean, it's only latex finishing materials. It's not a big deal. You know? Right? I'm sure the mayor would drink some of that water. Nonetheless, because we cannot be 100%... Oh, they said very low, if present at all, health risks. Okay, drink that water. If there wasn't...
They also advised to drink bottled water.
Yeah, beginning at 2 p.m. on Sunday. Nonetheless, because we cannot be 100% sure that there won't be traces of these chemicals in the tap water throughout the afternoon, we want the public to be aware that so people can consider switching to bottled water to further minimize risk. Yeah. I don't know. Safety. It's the second to smallest chapter of. So let me move this over here. So New York City is poised to pass a bill banning size discrimination, making weight and height a protected class. Some states are also looking into the issue. I didn't know that this was an issue. I know that there are some jobs where you can't work because of various dimensional and weight issues. But apparently that's now a protected class. Or possibly in a state in New York City. The New York City Council appears prepared to pass a bill banning weight and height discrimination. The bill would apply to employment opportunities, housing, and public accommodations. Massachusetts, Vermont, New York, New Jersey, and New York State might enact similar policies, per the Washington Post. This is over at BusinessInsider.com. Katie Belovic is the author of this. And yeah, I kind of find it fascinating. I didn't know that this was an issue. I know that it's an issue for short people because there's a whole song about it. Short people have nobody to love. You don't know that song? You'll have to look it
No.
up. Just type, look it up. Short people ain't nobody. Anyway, the bill introduced by Council Member Sean Abro last spring would amend the city's code to prohibit discrimination on the basis of a person's height or weight in opportunities of employment, housing, and access to public accommodations. So I guess that has become a thing. It was long overdue as a civil rights issue. It's super important that we treat everyone with the dignity and respect they deserve. At the end of the day, this is about job security. This is about housing security. If someone looks a certain way, if someone is of a different body size or has higher weight, who cares? And while I agree, I wish that it wasn't something that has to be enacted by government and isn't something simply a societal force where people do not care. In fact,
Right.
if they so choose to embrace, then yeah. And if they so choose not to embrace, then they still say, well, we're all members of society and I will accept you for who you are, regardless.
I mean,
I know
that's
it's
such a crazy concept, isn't it?
it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. But unfortunately, that's not the world that we apparently live in. Let's move on to the next article. I think, yeah. So this next article, which one should we do first? Let's do this train one first. I'm going to move this over here, and then we'll talk about the Florida one in a little bit. So Union Pacific has become the second railroad to drop its push for one-person crews after various train incidents. I'm not sure how multiple people on the train would remedy these problems if they're still going to eschew safety and security. But Union Pacific has become the second major freight railroad in the past week to back away from the industry's longstanding push to cut train crews down to one person as lawmakers and regulators increasingly focus on rail safety following, well, last month plus of wetting the bed. And by the way, I flipped these, so in the show notes, I'll have to make changes. At any rate, let's throw this article into the show notes and let's go over to the source. It's over at abcnews.go.com. Josh Funk, AP business writer, wrote this article and has a picture of the Palestine, I think, train wreck. I think that's what that is. No, that's not, because this is too rural. I'm not sure what train wreck that picture is, but I don't think that's, it doesn't look like
I actually think it's from the other side of the
Oh, really?
crash, because I thought I had seen a similar picture.
Okay. I mean, this does look like the kind that it looked like, but anyway, so yeah, because all of the safety and security stuff seems to have been industry driven, like self required or policed or whatever. And it's akin to we've investigated ourselves and we found ourselves of no wrongdoing. Now, because of these incidents, everything is more public. And like I always say, abuse happens in the dark. The train industry was largely in the dark until there were protests shutting down the trains. And then right after they were forced to return to work, all of this shit started hitting the fan. I mean, again and again and again and again. So if they don't reinvest in the safety and security of the personnel and they lower their margins 1%, and really make it safe and secure for not just the people that are driving these trains, but the population around them, and nature around them, this is going to keep on happening again and again and again. I mean, it's just a horrible thing. But short-term profit over long-term safety and security, gotta get mine before I die, so screw you all. It's just a fascinating embodiment of sociopathy. And I keep saying that because it's true again and again and again. If these people cared about more than just their profit, and it's pure profit, this would not happen. So now they're going to have more than one person on the train. So hopefully one of them will be empowered enough to stop whatever is going to catastrophically happen. But that's not how it works. When it's a train wreck and it happens catastrophically.
Yeah, it's not going to solve things, I don't think, like the Palestine crash, but it will solve things like we've seen with some previous Amtrak crashes where the conductor or whatever was texting instead of paying attention, things like that. So I think this is a good move, but it's not going to prevent all issues that you mentioned with infrastructure and the industry.
I'm surprised somebody hasn't come out and automated all of this. You know? I mean, it's a whole lot easier to stop a train 2 miles before a crossing that is obstructed by an 18-wheeler is, because I just recently watched a video where an 18-wheeler with a load went across the train tracks, but the train tracks are set up a higher level than the two other lobes of the road, right? And the train basically got stuck there. And what it's called is riding low. So they lower down the air adjusted level of the truck so that the center of gravity is closer to the road. But he went over the road, and then you had to get out to raise the bed back up so that he could get to the other side. But he was too slow, and it wasn't adjustable from inside the cab. And so it split that 18-wheeler open. But the guy got away. He realized that it wasn't going to happen. But in an automated system, that obstruction, every single crossing should have a sensor on it that says there's an obstruction or not, and then notifies the train automatically. That's all plain safety.
It's probably all money. Like, it seems like common sense, but you think about how many miles of train track and how many crossings there are. I mean, I don't disagree. I think that could easily be implemented. But has anybody wanted to invest in it?
It's the same batshit ideology, though. Well, it's really expensive to secure the train and its path through society, as Wyoming going, well, we're not going to allow anything that's going to impact oil and gas companies because it's a burden on our electric grid. It's just batshit crazy talk. Fix this stuff, for crying out loud. Anyway, and it's all because mergers and acquisitions have made it so that there isn't any competition for doing these things. And so nobody can sit there and go, well, I'm going to go work over for that train company because they've got a superior safety record. Well, because they're all the same way. But they own these tracks and the land under them. So why isn't this weighing very, very heavily on the negligence side of things when issues happen? Why aren't they just getting crushed in the courtroom? How much money did you make not having a safe environment for workers and the environment, and for people that are on either side of those train tracks when you wreck, and then crush them in the courtroom? Maybe it's just me. Want to move on to the last article?
Yep.
Yeah, let's do that. The last thing for today is over in the Daily News Show. It too is from ABC News. Kind of got a chuckle out of this, but it's sad. At the same time, it's a sociological thing. Florida school uproar leads to Italy inviting a viewing of David. So, a Florence museum and the city's mayor are inviting parents and students from a Florida charter school to visit and see Michelangelo's David. I don't know if they're saying, hey, you're invited and we'll pay, but
Yeah, I don't
they
know
do
if
have
that's
the
part of the
invitation.
invitation.
So Nicole Winfield and Terry Spencer from the Associated Press wrote this article, and it was published over at abcnews.go.com. It says the title of it, when it was first aggregated in ohmTown, was Florida School Uproar Leads Italy to Invite Viewing David. But it has since been modified, it seems, or whatever it was that Gatherer acquired. The title of the article is now, Is David Porn? See for Yourself. Italians ask Florida parents. And this is a picture of a restorer cleaning Michelangelo's masterpiece, David, during restoration work at the Galleria dell'Accademia, October 6, 2003, so 20 years ago. I'm pretty sure that they're constantly preserving this. I swear I've seen David before, but when I was much younger. Anyway, a Florence museum housing Michelangelo's Renaissance masterpiece, David, invited parents and students from a Florida charter school to visit after complaints about a lesson featuring the statue forced the principal to resign. They're talking about a statue.
And something that's like world renowned, one of the classical, what are they called? Like the old masters or something?
Yes. Renaissance masters. Yeah. Florence Mayor Dario Nardella also tweeted an invitation for the principal to visit so he can personally honor her. Confusing art with pornography was ridiculous, Nardella said. The incredulous Italian response highlights how the U.S. culture wars are often perceived in Europe. This isn't a culture war. This is willful ignorance about the difference between porn and art. And some people, and the fact that some porn is seen as art by people. But the real issue here is this is a statue. A statue. I guarantee you these children have seen and will see much more heinous stuff than a marble statue that happens to be a naked person. And it's not like they don't see themselves, for crying out loud. We all have the same bits and pieces. It might be in a different orientation, but it's still the same. These people that would force a principal to resign are batshit crazy. It says, but the board of the Tallahassee Classical School pressured Principal Hope Karakila, I guess? Karaskila? Or Skia, I don't know. To resign last week after an image of the David was shown to 6th grade art class. 6th grade. The school has a policy requiring parents to be notified in advance about controversial topics being taught. It isn't a controversial topic. They're talking about the statue of David, for crying out loud. Let's keep on scrolling through this, see if there's something else in here that would give it some context. To think that David could be pornographic truly means not understanding the contents of the Bible, not understanding Western culture, and not understanding Renaissance art, Holberg said in a telephone interview. I agree. Is there anything in here? Does it say anything? It's a taxpayer-funded, tuition-free charter school, operates almost entirely independently of the local school district, and is sought out by parents seeking an alternative to the public school curriculum.
It said that 3 parents complained. Two were concerned because they weren't notified in advance. It wasn't clear if those were actual complaints about the content, but that they didn't know. The 3rd was a complaint that it was pornographic.
So 2 didn't get
out of an entire class.
2 didn't get notified, and 1 said that it was pornographic, and it cost somebody their job.
A principal, yeah, exactly.
Of about 400 students in kindergarten through 12th grade, attend the 3-year-old institution.
Which is now on its third principal. I'm guessing this isn't the first time they've.
It follows a curriculum designed by Hillsdale College, a conservative Christian school in Michigan, frequently consulted by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis on educational issues. So that's what it is. It's just
I don't even know how that works since it's taxpayer funded, but anyway.
Right? Yeah.
But that does explain, I don't know. It doesn't excuse it, but it does explain it.
It's indoctrination, willful ignorance of anything other than that curriculum that might issue this, and this wasn't emphatically declared in that curriculum. This might be something that's just outside, and in other situations, it might have been academic freedom, but in grade school, all the way to high school, you have very little academic freedom. But a curriculum designed by, I would probably put ultra conservative Christian school in Michigan into this sentence. If Ron DeSantis is leaning into it for educational issue guidance, yeah, I'd say that this is insane. It's part of humanity. It's part of society. It's part of art and art culture. It shows what a human being can do.
You know, I don't really know how you would teach art in that environment, because quite a bit of art is, well, people see it differently. Sometimes they get offended by it. I don't know how you would teach art in this environment. I mean, that is such a well-known, it's a statue. It's not for anything remotely related to the complaint. And that kind of shows the ignorance of the people complaining. Do they even know what the statue is?
Yeah. I would love to be a fly on the wall of their place, because you know that they are saying some creepy freaking stuff in their house. And I don't even know who they are.
I'd like to be a fly on the wall of the school board meeting or whatever to hear the complaint firsthand and the discussion about it, because this is just crazy. Like, this school board should have shut down these complaints and said, nope, we reviewed it and this is appropriate. And if you don't like this, you can take your kid to another school. But we know that's never the approach.
No, it's never the approach. I don't know. I'm shocked by this, but I shouldn't be, right? Well, at any rate, I've posed another question in the search box if anybody's interested in that. But don't worry, if you can't see it, you can find the others that I've put in other videos too. So,
you know, I never knew there was a question in the search box until you mentioned it on the screen.
Yeah, I probably should never have mentioned it, and
Which
I'm not
was
going to.
Yesterday, I think.
But maybe there's others in previous videos. So if you find them, feel free to answer them. Send in an email to mayor@ohmTown.com, or boss@ohmTown. That one works too. At any rate, that is today's show. We almost made it within an hour, 12 articles, and that's all because I was not on my soapbox. Yeah. Is there anything interesting right away? 5 new Steam games that we probably missed. We'll talk about that tomorrow, if we recall.
Yeah, it looks like there's a couple of things on here, but I don't know if they'll be articles we feature, but definitely some interesting. I also like the Be a Swamp Devil headline,
I just saw that too.
I don't know what game that's about.
Be a Swamp Devil, cause chaos, steal stuff in this lo-fi immersive sim. Yeah, I'm game for that. That'd be fun. At any rate, I am megawatt. That is ohmTown.com. And right up there that you can't see at the moment because I've got the visualizer kind of in stealth mode. Only when the AI is talking will you see them. You want to say bye to everybody?
Good night, ohmTown citizens, and we'll see you tomorrow at tomorrow's show.
9 p.m. Eastern tomorrow in tomorrow's show. Tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow.
You think maybe tomorrow?
Definitely tomorrow.
I'm thinking tomorrow. Don't forget tomorrow.